In this second video, we were talking a bit more precisely about how to use the tool before moving on to the tutorial and the analysis of results. The NEAT+ acronym refers to Nexus Environmental Assessment Tool. As the name suggests, it's a fast and easy tool that can be used early in a project design to identify the potential negative impact that the project could have on the environment and to propose activities that could reduce this impact. It was developed for humanitarians and by humanitarians and is now being maintained by the UN Joint Environmental Unit. It takes the shape of multiple choice questions that give an automatic output, so the survey can be quite easy and fast to fill depending on what you know about the context and the project. So we usually say that it takes between 2 and 4 hours to fill, and then you can take a bit more time to analyze the output of the tool, and that specific step can take about a day. The tool was built to be used during the project design, before the project was actually submitted for funding, but you can also choose to use it less often, and instead of focusing on a specific activity or project, you can do it on a whole base or area that you frequently work in, and then integrate those results in every project that you will be developing in that base. So of course you have to make sure that the recommendations are going to be relevant to your specific project, that you're not missing on some obvious environmental risks, and also that the analysis that you did is still relevant, so make sure that you do it quite frequently, about every 2 years, or whenever there is a big change in your context area. The NEAT+ was developed in 2 versions. The first is the Rural NEAT+, which presents as an Excel file that you can download and then fill in, and the results appear directly in this file. And then there is the later Urban NEAT+, which is an online platform. To this day, the Urban platform still has a certain number of bugs and a set of features that make it more difficult and time-consuming to use, which is why we still recommend that you would stick to the rural version. That is also appropriate for camp-like settings and some more dense areas. In both cases, the NEAT+ has 2 steps. The first one is called the Environmental Sensitivity module, which is going to let you give some details about the context of the project, of the area, its population profile, what the environment looked like, and what is available to the population that lives in the area. You can then move on to modules that are going to be specific to your activity and that you can choose to complete depending on how relevant they are to your project. For each module that you will have filled, the output is going to be a summary of the risks associated with the context and with your project. Associated to the risks, you will have some recommendations that give you an opportunity to reduce or to mitigate your impact. As the tool is automatic and covers widely different activities, some of the recommendations will be very relevant, but others not so much, which is why it's interesting to spend some time analyzing the recommendations and actually going through what is relevant, doable, and this is something that you can do in collaboration with all the different stakeholders in the project, so that you can discuss how to actually implement those recommendations. Of course, those recommendations can be turned into activities of your project that you can then include in the project proposal. And this ensures that you show the donors that you have indeed taken into account their minimum requirements when applicable. But it is also a way to make sure that you have the funding that is necessary for your mitigation activities. So in those 2 videos, you learned a little bit about the context linked to environmental issues and the tools that have been developed to start to answer it. To make sure that those tools are being accordingly used, the REH is building the capacity of humanitarian actors, which is also a motivation for this video series. In addition to this material, some individual support is offered to country offices on demand when they are working on the environmental evaluation of their projects whenever it is possible. Thank you very much for following me through those two videos, and now you can learn a bit more about how to use the tool by watching the third video, the tutorial.